Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to B-Ball Breakdown and the live post-game show after Game 3 of the Warriors at Cleveland Cavaliers. And wow, that was a pretty crazy game, I think we can all, it's safe to say. The Cavaliers deserve to win the game. I think the bottom line, we understand that. They came ready to play right from the get-go. They took a commanding lead in that third quarter by 20. And they couldn't do anything wrong. I mean, LeBron James was on a terror and just terrorizing the defense. So the one thing I kind of want to talk about is we've been talking about how the Warriors have been defending LeBron James the whole series. And it's pretty clear that they have no intention of doubling him, really, and they want to shut down everybody else. And I think that the problem has been, and what I've been saying, is that they need to double a little bit and mix it up and keep him off rhythm. Because right now he's just having his way. And when he misses those shots in the paint, it's because he missed them. It's not because they're doing too much defensively to make him miss. So every once in a while, they snuck a double team in there late, and it wasn't even that aggressive. But they got a turnover once in the third, and they got a stop on another one. I bind those. And that, is evidence to me that they need to keep doing that. And if they don't do that and they stick to the game plan without an adjustment, then they're going to lose. It's really that simple. LeBron James is this good, and he is going to lead this team. I mean, listen, they're up 2-1 with another home game now. If they go up 3-1, I have to look at the numbers, but we all know that there's very few teams that have lost a 3-1 lead in the finals, even if they don't have home court advantage. Obviously, they'll have the game 6 at home to close it out if that happens. So here's the thing. Steph Curry did look terrible again for most of this game. And when the pressure kind of finally fell off, okay, because what's going on with the Warriors, they look like they have the weight of the world on their shoulders. Their body language is terrible. And what I mean by that is when you watch them, and I saw it in the last game too, their shoulders are kind of slumped down and the chin goes down. And when they're at their best, they're just having fun and they're flying that ball around. And it's not fun. The basketball in this series is not fun for anybody. You got guys like Shumpert. I thought Shumpert for sure separated his shoulder. I'd never seen anything like that where his shoulder completely moved in like that, and he was in a lot of pain. It's rare to imagine that a guy can recover from that, and he's hitting some threes and he's playing defense. So the one thing I was impressed with when they show that slow motion before he gets hit, you could see his arms. This guy is lithe and strong and defined. So he's got some serious muscle and tension in those shoulders. So I suppose that the strength was able to keep him from getting a serious injury. But man, you think about Mike Miller gave him some minutes and he goes flying out of bounds to save a ball. Delly, again, basically outplayed Steph Curry, right? You can throw in all those extra points that Curry got when they were already down by a lot, a little bit like too little too late. But Delly is outplaying him on both sides of the ball. That's the key. Now, Delly ended up having 20-some points. We'll go through the box score in a little bit. But, when he gets to 20 points and then you add on what he's doing defensively, it's ridiculous. It's no brainer. He's definitely going to end up having a much more profound impact on the game than Steph Curry, the MVP of the league. However, the one thing that might be worth it all in theory is with Steph Curry shooting, perhaps he finally got on track, and it took them a loss and being down 20 to kind of find that rhythm and that comfortness in the finals. Comfort is not a word, but the comfort in the finals. Because again, like I said, this reminds me a little bit of the OKC back when they were going against the Heat in the finals, and it was 1-1, same thing, and then they completely fell apart. You might remember James Harden couldn't make a layup. He couldn't make a shot. He could barely catch the ball. He just sort of disappeared. And that's what it looked like to some degree with even Steph Curry. So it might have been worth it to get down and sort of, you know what, guys, we're down by 20. Let's just let it all hang out and see what can happen. And that's what got him on track. But I got to tell you, the defense the Cleveland Cavaliers are playing, I mean, except for a couple of those breakdowns at the end there on the quadruple screens for Steph Curry, it's kind of almost ridiculous how many screens they're going to run him off of. This is the best defense I've seen of any team in the playoffs, without question. It's rough. It's physical. They're denying. They're killing him on the boards. Again, Tristan Thompson, I don't think I can remember. Maybe Dennis Rodman was the last guy I saw who was this active on the offensive boards. I'm telling you, it's like every shot he's either got his hand on the ball or right near the ball or is at least going for the ball. And that's an incredible testament to his activity. You almost wish you'd see it more often from other teams and other players because that's just all effort. And it doesn't take any talent at all. And everybody on every team has a 6'9", 6'10", 6'11" guy who is somewhat young, I imagine, that could throw out there to do that. And he's doing it, and it's insane how well he's doing. He's saving possession after possession for them, and it's instrumental. So I know that LeBron is the MVP of this team. I know he's the best player in the league. He's got the highest basketball IQ. He's the guy way ahead of everybody, even the refs, in this game. But I tell you, without guys like Dellavedova, and we've known this, we've talked about this before, even Michael Jordan and all these guys, they've all needed that kind of help, and they're coming through. Meanwhile, what do the Warriors have to do? It's an interesting question. Their offense is not going inside out, and even at their best, they don't need to post up to score, but they will run the ball through the post and then do clever stuff to kick it out for the three. And they're going too long in stretches where they're not getting that penetration below the free throw line. And that's another real key here. Tex Winter's triangle offense, or Tex Winter had the 7 tenets of a sound offense, any sound offense. And the first or second one is the ball must penetrate to the lane, either by a pass or by a dribble. And so they do a nice job normally of that, and it's just not being effective. And the funny thing is that the Cavaliers are almost taking a page out of the Warriors book, and they're not doubling at all or even sliding over on the post-up stuff because they want to stay home on the shooters. And that's completely stymieing because normally the Warriors would have at least one defender would turn their head to look at the post, and then boom, they got you. And there are very infrequent moments when that's happening. And when it does happen and they do catch them, they're just not making them because we talked about this before as far as an open shot sometimes is not an open shot if you've been guarded so difficultly before that. And so, Steph Curry finally shakes loose of Dellavedova, can take a half a second to breathe, but that's the difference is where he's exhausted now, having worked all the other possessions, that suddenly that open shot is not open, right? And it's not going down like he's normally used to. And then what happens, it gets into your head. And so then what do? Steve Kerr can say all he likes about how great Steph Curry is. He can pat him on the butt as much as he can. But at some point, it just comes down to a make or miss league, and he needs to be more of that make part of the league, which he's started to get back to. Well, I have a few clips here I wanted to show you. So let's go through some of our video stuff. Let me grab those real quick while we're talking. From Game 3, let's open all these. And I'll do some screen sharing with the right program. Excuse me. Let me do this. Open with. Live TV, folks, or whatever this is called. So let me do a quick screen share. Okay, so early on in the first, we have one quick clip here where this is the Draymond Green really hard screen for on Dellavedova. And I thought we would go over this because it's interesting because people want to say that Dellavedova was dirty, but let me make sure we all see this. Good. Okay, so basically what we have here is, oh, I'm sorry, it's the wrong one. Darn, let me screen share the other one. Haha. That's right. This is out of order, I guess. 731, is that it? That is not it. And my mouse disappeared. Let's try this one. Okay, here we go. So early in the first, we have Steph Curry bringing the ball up. And we all know how everyone feels about Dellavedova, right? And it's been in the media, and I've tried to sort of defend him as being a guy who's playing as tough as he can. But, he's a marked man. And the Warriors know what he did to Steph Curry, right? He took him out of the game in Game 2. And so they obviously would love to have him out of the game, or at least know that they're going to try and, screen him as hard as they can. Maybe he'll stop fighting, which is something that Delly will probably never do, right? So here comes Draymond Green measuring him up. He sees him the whole way. So what I see on this one is leaning in and leaning his shoulder and getting his elbow up too. And I know if we talk about this tomorrow with Ronnie, he's going to say this is an illegal screen. He's sliding into him. He's not square either. He's turned sideways so he can lay as much of his weight into him as he can and blindsides Delly into the ground. Now, the next step we have here is Delly wants to let Draymond know that he can't get away with that and that he's not going to give up, right? So he gives him a little bit of a shot. Now, people want to say it's to his knee. First of all, this is a flop to me. Watch what happens here. Can you see that flop? This is not that much contact. And the contact to me looks to be in his hamstring. See, look, his left leg is already a front. There's no contact there. I think it's what it is it's his butt, it's his buttocks to his mid-back. So that's not, going for his knee. Draymond goes down, and he gets right back up. He knows that he flopped as well and isn't calling for a shot. He wants to shoot the ball. So that's what we're seeing on that one. That's why I don't think that was very dirty. I think it's, it's a play. It's what, the finals is about. So let's move on to our next clip, which is, let me close this one out. And we have our next series, which is still in the first quarter. I believe is this one. No, it's not. It's weird. The time's got changed on me. Okay, so here we are. No, we're not. Forgive me. Sometimes I name them and the name isn't coming up. Let's try this again. Okay, so here we are in the first quarter, and we have all right, let me get back to my screen here. Okay. We have, I guess I grabbed a quick post up here, but here's a good example where they're not double teaming him, right? They're kind of stunting at him. Even Bogut is sort of not really coming over, and they're going to give up a layup every time on that. I feel like they have to mix it up, and if it's Iggy, they don't have to double as much, but if it's Harrison Barnes, they need to double a little bit. He's just getting abused. These points are way too easy. So now we move to, okay, here we go. Steph Curry pick and roll, LeBron dunk. Now, watch how this happens. They always want to get Steph Curry involved in the pick and roll. That's the new thing that they've discovered really works because the last thing you want is Steph Curry switching out onto LeBron, which is what they do a lot with these screens. Remember, guards don't know how to defend the screener that well. They hardly ever do it. So this is a nice play because they bring the three guys on the weak side. They almost as a clear out, and then there's no help on the right side for Steph Curry. Now, Curry kind of half-heartedly hedges, and that's not going to work in this situation because Barnes gets caught on a nice screen by Delly. Now, at this point, though, Andrew Bogut needs to be on that right block. And for some reason, he's not. He's way too slow, and that's a dunk. So that's a real problem. And I have to tell you, it looks to me like Bogut is struggling defensively. He's not the same guy. I'm not sure what's going on, but he looks a bit lost out there. And he's not been nearly as effective as he needs to be. Mozgov has been hurting him, and there's an example where he's hurting the team there. Now let's move on to later on in the first quarter. This is a great play. I like when they do all these pin downs for Steph Curry because remember, when you're off ball setting a screen, it's not the cutter who's the most dangerous person in this situation. It's the screener because everyone is staring at the cutter. This is called Steph Curry gravity here. So watch how LeBron James doesn't communicate. He's going to jump out and give Delly help, even though he doesn't need to. That's too high. If he wants to give him help, he might step straight up along the lane line, so he would be more in the way of the pass to that slipping Iguodala. And since he comes up too high here and Delly comes up here, again, Tristan Thompson is not good at this. Sometimes you'll have really good aware defenders who see this and step over quickly, and then if he steps over, James Jones will sink and fill and help the helper. But Tristan Thompson is notoriously bad at this. He's way late at coming over, and Iggy gets the dunk. Beautiful play, though. Really good offense. Later on, at the end, I wanted to show you this this play by Mike Miller. So, of course, he's not been playing at all. He's like a statue. He's frail. But watch Mike Miller here. He turns and runs. He gets out there to really hedge hard on that Steph Curry pick and roll. Because remember, what's killing the Warriors pick and roll with Steph is they double it, and they get it out of Steph's hands. And Steph can't be nearly as effective this way. But look at this. He comes from the opposite side, gets it. And by the way, Mike Miller is very tall. He's like 6'8", 6'9", long arms. He gets his hand on this ball. I mean, it's an incredible effort and an incredible deflection. And look at this. This is I quoted this, or I tweeted this earlier. This reminds me a little bit of the save that Worthy did to Magic. And of course, Magic gets it and scores. But this is one of those things where it's inspiring for everybody. And I think they ended up calling it out of bounds on Curry, not a foul on him, but that could have been a foul on Curry. Just inspiring stuff. Really, that's the kind of stuff you want to see if you want to win a game. And here's the replay. Let's see if it'll play. Let me turn off the sound. Let's see if it'll play even somewhat smoothly. Just look at that. That's just great stuff that coach loves to see. And if you're a player, that's the kind of plays that you want to make. Okay. Then we show. Okay, so now we're going to move on to later in the second quarter. Okay, here's high horns. So this thing got, started going with the Clippers early in the playoffs. Now everyone's doing it, although I have a feeling we've probably seen this with the Warriors in the regular season too. But I'm sorry, with the Cavs. The Cavs are going to run high horns. Now they do it a little differently because what we saw actually they're kind of doing it. Well, normally what I've seen is these guys are more facing each other sometimes. And what we saw with the Clippers, and now watch how they're doing this. If you can see this, they interlock their feet. This is almost like they're trapping Iguodala. This is how you would put a trap in a press if you were on defense. Now, instead, they're on offense, and they interlock their feet. There's no way Iguodala is going to get through. It's a guaranteed switch. So now Draymond is on him, which they don't mind so much. I don't think that Draymond should have, done a pivot, a right foot turn and underneath the screen like that. That just lets LeBron get going like a freight train. And there's not much Azili can do. I mean, it's a good contest, tough shot, but man, once you give him that kind of room, that kind of space, it's over. So terrific finish. And again, remember, that's LeBron going to his right, where he's much better at than his left, both finishing with the footwork and with finishing with the shot. Okay. Here's another good example of what I want young players to see is, okay, so Clay goes up for the shot. He forces it, and it gets blocked. Ball goes down, and he gets it right back and puts it right in. Doesn't pout, doesn't get embarrassed, just finds that ball, gets an open shot because he knows they're falling out of bounds, not in position, and boom, hits the shot. That is how you play basketball, and those are winning plays. A little bit later in the second quarter, we're going to do okay, here's the other thing. So they're not doubling him strong. But they also need to be very concerned when he brings the ball up. Oh, you know what? I think I threw another high horns in here. This play, okay, sorry. I let the ball run too. Is when he brings the ball up, you have to be very careful. And not only do you have to have one guy on him, and he needs to kind of be in position earlier. Iguodala is a little bit late getting in position in the jog, which is kind of frightening to me. But you got to have somebody else shadowing at the elbow. Now, what's interesting here is that they have Mozgov loosened up to the corner, which is a little bit strange. Normally, he would be going to the block, most big guys, and that would probably let Bogut step up a little bit higher at least and try and shadow. But at this point, what I'm seeing here is Draymond needs to be at least 3 steps over near the nail on the free throw line to not let LeBron even see the opening. But look how big this is. This is a big opening here into the middle. Nobody picks him up. He lowers that shoulder, and it's a nice finish with the left hand switch. Is that a left foot jump? So he goes off the left foot, double pump, left hand finish. That's a really nice finish. You can't even let him smell that. That's the problem. Okay, so now we move over to let's do some questions, shall we? Let's see what we have over on Twitter. Before we do that, then we'll go through the box scores by quarter, shall we? This is great stuff so far. Let's see what we have here. So my Twitter questions are... where are they? Aha. Is this it? Here we go. So let's resize this a little bit and slide over here. Maybe make it one step bigger so we can all see each other and everyone gets some love from BBallBreakdown. So let's get back to where we started from today. It looks like this might be the first question we have here from Moses. Wants to know, how do I vine and watch the game at the same time? How do you not miss plays? That's a great question, and it's a really intense atmosphere over here, guys, when I'm doing this, because I have my DVR going, and when I grab I have to go back and quickly jump back, grab the vine, and then as quickly as I can catch up. So I am behind a lot after I bind like 30, 40 seconds, and then I try and catch up either as they're bringing the ball up, I drag it over, or I, during a free throw or a timeout, I can catch up. Not easy to do, but I want to get those binds out fresh. Let's see here. Stever asks, is Steph Curry making wrong reads off screens, or is the passer not passing at the right time or spacing wrong? This is a great question and something worthy of a breakdown. I need to go through a lot of those and really get a sense of it because it looks okay to me, but sometimes you're right. When just enough of a pass is late and he's not open anymore, they're great at closing that gap. So I think it's a little bit of both, but to me, it looked a lot more like Curry was just off as opposed to anything else. Steve also wants to know, I think Curry is a great coach. Why are we not seeing his adjustments working? I'm not seeing too many adjustments. It's pretty much the defense is the defense. They're playing it the way they would normally do. And so that's an issue. And, the adjustments on offense, I mean, they're running different plays. They're trying their best. They're taking out a lot of different stuff. It's just, when you're talking about a rhythm, I hate to use the word jump shooting team, this can't happen. And they're going up against, LeBron of all people. And this is really where it becomes a problem. Brett asks, seemed like High Horns was very effective for Cleveland. Thoughts? Well, speaking of the devil, we just showed you a couple, and yes, it's very effective. It's a very effective set across the board. The Warriors run it as well. And when you can get the bigs out that high, then you can get some space to get going downhill. I just don't understand why they don't leave the bigs lower. They don't need to go up that high. They can stay right like a step below the three-point line. Jason wants to know, has Draymond lost confidence in his jumper? It seems to be passing up. Oh, my God. Draymond has lost confidence to the nth degree. He hit one, but he is passing up jumpers, and the reason why is because he's shooting 25% or so from the three-point line in the playoffs. So I don't blame him, and, he's trying to attack, but we saw here that he got mixed up with the referees, yelling and screaming and preening and then carrying on. So they're not going to give him a call. He slipped into the for a short roll, went to the basket, and, we'll show – the Mozgov verticality in a little bit. And clearly, I think it was verticality, but if he's ever going to get a 50-50 call, he's probably not going to get it now because the referees do not take kindly to all of his complaining. So he needs to really just be quiet, not talk to the referees as much. I bet you he'll get some of those calls. And then that will then loosen things up, and maybe he can then maybe shoot some jumpers. But he looks like he's afraid to drive, too, because of that. Gabriel wants to know, how much criticism should David Blatt get for this Cavs run? I mean, I think he should get all the credit in the world. Even though it looks clear to me that LeBron is calling the plays, whose plays is he calling? He's calling David Blatt's plays. And I have a feeling that they're controlling the defense and the matchups and how they want to guard those things. And so that's definitely on the all on the coaching staff. And probably Tyronn Lue gets his share as well because he's the defensive coordinator. So there's no question that when you get this far and you're doing as well as you're doing unexpectedly, the coaches should get as much credit as anybody else. Sirocco asks, after this game, are you switching your pick to Cavs? This is the craziest series I can remember. I still don't have a feel for it, okay? Because Cleveland had a 20-point lead. I was going to say, great, this might be over the series, right? And then, boom, here comes the Warriors again, and they got on track. So the question now is, did the Steph Curry get back on track? And if he did, and he can do that earlier in a game, then the Warriors could be up by 20, in Game 4. So that's a real question. I guess we're going to know after Game 4 what we have, I think, a lot more clearly. But then again, if it goes to 2-2, what do we have? It's not clear. And you know what? Who wins? We all do. Joshua asks, what is up with David Lee effect? Should Kerr keep playing him? Is he actually causing matchup problems for the Cavs? I got to look at this again because, yeah, he was giving them what Draymond Green stopped giving them, which was the short rolls, a little bit of a post up, and just kind of finishing inside. And part of it is because he's, he'll get a call from the refs where Draymond didn't look like he would. And he was a little bit more aggressive. He did cause some problems again on defense, but I think he helped them more than he hurt. And I would expect we will see a David Lee sighting again in Game 4, maybe earlier, as part of the regular rotation. And that's a testament to how professional he is. And he stayed with it. He stayed positive. He stayed part of the team. Really impressive in my book that he could do that. And kudos to him for coming through like they needed him to, almost help them pull out the win. Let's now move over to If Michael Frazier wants to know, if the Cavaliers lose this series but LeBron keeps up, can he win the Finals MVP? Oh, okay. So you want to know if a losing player can win the Finals MVP? Well, it happened once with Jerry West, and so certainly there's precedent. It's an interesting question. It depends more on the Warriors, right? If somebody really clear-cut starts to really play and heat up, then they're going to win it. But if it's up and down and, Curry doesn't still shoot very well and maybe Clay has another good game and then Curry doesn't and then Curry does later, then, yeah, without question, LeBron might have a shot at winning that. So let's go and switch over to oh, my goodness, was I not sharing it with everybody? Well, anyway, you got the questions at least. Let's go over to, again, if you're watching YouTube, why you have to hit another button to share your screen, I have no idea. But this time I'm going to do it right because I have, let's go through the quarters, quarter by quarter stats. And this is a really cool function of the stats by the NBA on their stat page where you can go look at the box score by quarter. So I'm going to go here. It takes a few minutes until when the game's over, but now that it's ready, I'm going to select the first period, and then let's look at this. Let's see what we have. Now, can we all read this? This is probably too small. So let's make this a little bit bigger for everybody. How's that? Okay. So let's see. In the first quarter, you can see here that the score was 24-20. Cleveland was controlling the game, controlling the pace, and that's really the key here. And that's what the Warriors are not doing well with, is it's just a slow pace for them. And Curry was really the chief culprit here, 1 for 5. Klay Thompson was a little bit better at 2 for 5. And you can see here they both had 4 points. And then also Andre Iguodala came in and played the last 6:49 and did nicely. As far as assists go, Iguodala and Curry both had 3. And when Iguodala is aggressive on offense, he's a real attribute for them because he's also going to give you a lot of D. But on the flip side here, LeBron James was way off, and this is what should have concerned Warriors fans, was that he was 3 for 10, 6 points, but 1 assist. He wasn't doing much work, yet they were still down by 4. Really bad red flag. Tristan Thompson, let's see the offensive rebounds. Again, 3 in the first quarter, which is a lot. That's a lot for the game. And he had in the first quarter and 6 points. And they're getting some nice contributions here from Dellavedova. Again, he didn't shoot well at all, but two buckets and an assist. And then we had James Jones coming in, hitting a 3 and hitting a free throw on a 4-point play. Really terrific stuff. So let's move on to the second period, because what's nice about this, I can isolate the second period where normally I would just show you the first half. In the second half, what the story of the game here became the second quarter, again, Cleveland outscored them again by 3, and they held the Warriors to an unheard of 17 points. Okay, so again, massive struggle at 28.6%. Now, the Cavaliers aren't much better, but because their defense is so good, they can afford to shoot 37% and then increase that lead. Again, who's doing it? LeBron went 3 for 7, which is better for 7 points in that period with 6 rebounds and 2 assists. So he's having a monster second period here. And let's see here. Who else is doing well? Nobody else. Oh, I'm sorry. Matthew Dellavedova again with, I see. They're still giving the total point. No, he had 1 point. Sorry. J.R. Smith comes through, and that's what they had to be worried about. He hit a couple of really tough shots, got 5 points in that quarter, and those are the 2 big guns there. Meanwhile, on this side, we had Iguodala again doing the work, 6 points in the second quarter, and not much else. We can see Draymond Green 1 for 4 with 1 rebound. He's just not getting stuff done, and he's letting the refs. He definitely had an emotional equilibrium issue where he was all over the place. He really had a bad foul and then was complaining after that, like to the nth degree, which is very strange because, if you did it, it's not you, arguing the referees over, but he was having trouble calming himself down. Let's move on to the third quarter. So the third quarter shows us that we have 7 points by Steph Curry. So he started to heat up with 1 3, and he was going to the basket a little bit more. And this was the crazy down by 20 and then coming back. Let's see here. Actually, they didn't really come back into the fourth. Excuse me. This is when they really increased their lead. And the chief culprit, at least in that huge run, was LeBron James. Went off. 5 for 9 still is good, but it's not like astronomically crazy. And 1 for 4 from 3. But one of those threes was a tagger. 4 assists. So he's responsible for 13 points, and then you add the 8 points he got in assists. Although we have to check if he got any assists for 3. He might have. And that's That's another at least 21 points that he's contributing by himself. And then Dellavedova had a heck of a third quarter here. Runners, he hit 2 threes, he got 2 assists. So he had his hand in 14 points himself. So, you know, Dellavedova is just a great story. And no matter how you want to slice it, if you're not happy for seeing how well he's doing, then I don't know what's wrong. On the flip side here, we had Steph Curry coming to life a little bit here with a 3 for 5 and hitting a 3. And the lid started to come off for him. But, again, not a lot of production. And that moves us to the fourth quarter with the wacky fourth, where you can see here they got 36 points. It has to be their high for the finals, I believe, and almost made the comeback. And who was doing it? 17 points in the fourth quarter by Steph Curry, 6 for 9. You know, terrific stuff, 1 assist, 2. So he was doing some serious work. No one else, but that was it. I mean, he was, you know, really leading the way here. But then here's the David Lee story: 3 for 3, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. That's the kind of stuff that's terrific. He got 5 fouls in 10 minutes. It's a lot of fouls, but you know, that he was doing some serious work with 9 points in that fourth quarter, and that's the one reason why they were able to get anywhere close. Let's look at the full game here and do the quick rundown, and we'll get back to some more video. So here we finished with what? Steph Curry ended up with 27 points, again, 50% shooting, and you know, above 50% from 3, which is a really great sign. You can hope that you know, he can continue that in the fourth game, because I want to see a good game. And you know, Klay Thompson cooled off considerably from his last game with 14 points. And other than that, you know, besides David Lee, you know, they got a little bit more from Andre Iguodala with 15 points total, 5 assists. These are good numbers, but they can't fall down by 20. Meanwhile, LeBron James, another, you know, crazy game, 14 for 34. He's not really efficient, but when they're playing such great defense, they can afford him to be. And I think he could probably cut out a couple of those threes. That'll help the efficiency. He's getting the line, 12 rebounds, almost another triple-double. Crazy stuff here. Matthew Dellavedova, listen to this, 20 points, 4 assists, 5 rebounds, an untold amount of forced missed shots on the other end with his defense. And then they got that little run by J.R. Smith, and that really did nicely. And Tristan Thompson ended up with, look, 4 offensive rebounds, 9 total, 13 total, 9 defensive. Terrific stuff. That's the stuff that wins you games. So they have it. The Cavaliers have enough here to you know, to win the series. And it's kind of frightening to think that if they had Kyrie and they had Kevin Love, you know, how much better they would be simply on talent. But here's the thing. They're a much better defensive team without question the way they are now. And that's what's going to win them the games. So that is the interesting question. If they had Kyrie and Kevin Love, would they even be here? And would they be as successful? It's a really great question. No one really knows, but I certainly can tell you what they're doing now, and that is they're doing work. Let's fly over to, I believe we have our last set of clips here from the second half. And let me share that with you. Make sure I hit that button to present it to everybody. So we have here in the third quarter. I just wanted to, okay, here's the Delly floater. Just want to go over this because let's see how he does it. Real simple. Again, remember we showed you LeBron getting the same kind of screen from Delly, and he gets to the basket. Similar idea here. They spread it way wide. I'm not that excited to have LeBron so disconnected to the play out here, but spacing-wise, look where it's dragging Harrison Barnes anyway. So they do a little two-man game on a rescreen, and Bogut is getting stuck in between. He doesn't know if he wants to go for the lob because we know that Delly loves to throw the lob. And instead, Delly goes off that 1 foot and that runner. We had seen him do the off-foot runner to catch him off guard, and he didn't do that in this game. And a couple of the other times ended up being pretty bad misses because they were able to time that. But this time, Bogut just kind of gets caught in between, doesn't know what to do, doesn't get a hand up. And had Draymond spoke louder, he could have been able to say, I got you, and then Bogut would have known he could have come over and pressured more. As it is, Bogut sticks to the roll man, and he hits that nice floater. Let's go. Here's a long sequence I want to go through, which is really some interesting stuff. So LeBron gets a little bit of a rub screen down into the post, and he's going to back him in. Again, no double, and it's very frustrating. Now, I like what Klay is doing. He's stunting with the express purpose of getting right back on Delly. He's not turning his back on his man. Curry is also staying home, but Bogut – oh, I'm sorry. This is the stop. Sorry. Bogut finally does come over and double team. Terrific. It's a little bit late in my taste, but this is okay if you got Draymond back there, and if Bogut can hustle back in, they don't mind watching Tristan Thompson shoot a little floater from that distance. They get the rebound, and they take off. By the way, this is a pretty impressive play here for Steph Curry to be able to get around, not travel, and not get a charge. So he comes through here, and this is one of the epitomes of sort of Steph Curry's issues. The footwork here is a problem. I'm looking there. Let's see here. So he does a nice spin move, plants the right foot, and let's see what happens here. Oh, perfect. Nice hands by Shumpert. I don't see too much that Curry could have done. He's keeping the ball away. You can see that he's got it on the right hip away from the defender, but just a nice play. And, you know, I wonder if he got a foul or not. It's not clear on this angle, but he could have gotten him down on that wrist. So now Delly picks up the loose ball and attacks. Now, this is a pretty good shot in rhythm, and what you like about this shot is that Tristan Thompson is coming flying in there. You know, he might have a good shot at getting the rebound. Now, I would say that they need to pick up LeBron a lot earlier. The problem is in transition and in scramble, it's Bogut, and Bogut just isn't that guy. He's not going to get out like that. LeBron squares up, hits the jump shot, boom. Now they're rolling here. They got a 11-point lead here, and at this point, even with the 8-point lead, it felt like a blowout. And it wasn't until this stretch here and toward the end of the third quarter. So then we see here the Mozgov verticality. So the Warriors run a similar set where they do an inside screen and roll where they have the three guys on the right side. However, this is where Steph Curry is going to the middle of the floor, right? So it's a little bit different. It's the opposite direction. Again, there's no help because there's nobody on the left side to rotate over. Mozgov does come over, though, and he's going to go up straight up and down. That's good verticality. Now, they wanted to say on the swipe that there should have been a foul, but the ball was loose at that point, and I don't think he really gets anything. I think he gets the ball. Yeah, he just gets the ball on that one, and we'll see some replays here to show you because a lot of people were outraged. That's verticality. You know, he jumps straight up, and I think he kind of jumps even backwards a little bit. You know, he jumps straight up, and the only reason why, you know, he goes backwards is because of that foul. But he keeps his arms up. I like that. And only after the ball goes loose does he bring the arms down. That's perfect. So anybody who wanted to argue that his arms weren't up, I mean, that's verticality. That's up. That's as up as you can go. And the only reason why it looks like they come down is because his whole body, you know, floats backwards like that. But let's see here. Does he hit him with the arm? No, I don't know. It doesn't look like he actually makes contact. You know, his arm stays on the outside of his right forearm. So I don't see any contact there. The ball was loose, so that contact is okay. So a crazy sequence there in that third. And then, you know, I just kind of quickly grabbed this because as we got to the end of the game, it's harder for me to grab the clips because I have to get ready for this. But real simple pick and roll with David Lee, takes him out. They get a switch, and there's no way Tristan Thompson can handle this. And he gets the three. Is it a hop? Let's see. How does he shoot this? Yeah, a nice little step back hop. Brings both feet together, gets the turn. Boom. All right. People will say this is a 1-2. It's probably, I'll give him a 1-2. When he got in the air a little bit, but it's a step back. But nice shot, boom, that's clean as clean can be. By the way, notice how he rotates in the air in this. When you're moving to your right, it's hard to get that right hip leading. So he does it in the air. So look at how he rotates. I would say he rotates 60 degrees, right, before he lands. Is that the secret? Well, he's doing things that no one else is doing. And if that's the case and he's doing it so well, then I would say maybe that's a secret. So those are the end of our plays. Now, as far as the end of the game goes, there's plenty of stuff that happened down there at the stretch. The referees were screwy with the Klay Thompson, you know, out of bounds. They missed, but they got it right finally. But I don't know why it took that long and why they had to finally review it. And they just needed to review it. Let's see here. Let's go to some more questions, shall we, to finish up our show? Let's see here. Present to everyone, and let me get over to that. Let's close this out. And will Golden State get a night where they just go off and the Cavs can't do a thing about it? Well, that's what they're banking on, Sirocco, without question. And then Ali, Game 4 would be different now that Curry's seemingly back. Yeah, Game 4 would definitely be different. And Sirocco, yeah. You never know. They could be down 3-1, and the Game 6 they can go off and win the game by 40. So it's always on the table. Joshua asks, how do you feel about the LeBron steal on Curry? Seemed like an obvious foul. That's what I want to talk about. You know, can I find that? Because I wanted to share that, but I can't go frame by frame. I know what I can do. Here it is. Somebody shared it with me, and you guys can watch it this way. Haha. Thank you, Coach Stewart. Big props to you on that. So here is the play, and it's in slow motion. So the first thing that happens is he knocks the ball out. So I know if I talk to Ronnie about this tomorrow, he's going to say, well, first, he was able to get that ball loose before the contact, which is then clearly made, right? You kind of see his left leg gets taken out. But the only contact really is the left leg. And, it is significant, without question. There is significant contact. So the question is this really a basketball play, right? You can't just kind of go headlong and dive into a player like that for the steal. It is LeBron, so I know we can all acknowledge that LeBron does get his share of calls. But then again, he's doing against the MVP, who should get the call. That's pretty controversial. So I would have to say, it's weird that wasn't called. And that was pretty crucial. Change to Warrior starting lineup, Lee over Barnes or Green. If they're going to change the lineup, it's going to be Barnes won't start. And if they do that, I would have to imagine they're going to put Iggy in, not Lee. So there's no way that Lee gets in the starting lineup like that. But it's possible they go with Iguodala. What happens there? Harrison Barnes was off from the beginning. His mechanics looked wrong. So it's hard to know. Young players, first time in the finals, all that stuff is on the table. But he needs to get back in the gym and find his stroke, find the form, because it was just off and flat, and he wasn't extending his arm. It happens, I guess, with the young players. Vivek wants to know, Spurs seem to be the only team that will consistently run their best sets in the playoffs. We're going to have to chart that and see. I mean, I know the Warriors were doing a lot of that stuff. I saw the loop. They did that one play that looks like the whole elevator, but then goes to a back screen. And I got to tell you, Cleveland erased that one. So they're doing them. I don't think that's much of an issue. Does Golden State have a conditioning problem? They often look to wear down. It's a good question. Bogut looks worn down. It might be an injury issue, they're much beat up maybe as opposed to conditioning. I would be surprised if they were, having a conditioning or out of shape issue. Sirocco asks, does Golden State miss shots they normally make, or was Cleveland's defense that good? I think the Cleveland defense is as good as I've seen, and I think that's the main issue here. Don't forget, if you want to ask a question and you can sneak it in there, use BBall Show. What adjustments are hashtag BBall Show? What adjustments are Blatt and company making that are different from game one? And I think they're really hammering the ball screen with Steph Curry guarding it, and that's a big one. And then they're going to the post even more and clearing out with LeBron. But that's pretty much all they need to do, right? And that's all they can do with what they have, and it's working out really well. I think that they're taking advantage of a young team being a deer in the headlights right now. And if that changes, then all of a sudden, whatever the coaching staff on Cleveland did won't look as good as it does now. Forever purple and gold. Warriors fell in love with the threes, not involving bigs early enough in the game. I mean, it's not really their game. Now, involving bigs, if what you mean is getting the ball down low so it can kick back out, sure, that's what they need to do. They could do more of. I like to see more elbow gets where they're doing the screen and rolls in the corner. They started doing that with Curry, getting him the ball at the elbow and then screening for him across the free throw line. Good stuff. Puts a lot of pressure on the defense. Remember last year when you said that LeBron wouldn't come home? Aaron asks me. I guess I said that. I don't remember, but he did. He shocked everybody, I think, right? Coach Simak wants to know, is it just me or does Bogut look lost in the Warriors offense right now? I think he looks lost, period. I honestly feel like he doesn't know what's happening on defense or offense. So, yeah. And you're seeing that. Ezeli is getting time that he normally wouldn't get. Nikhil asks, I think Delhi off balance and one halted the off balance in one halted Warriors momentum. What do you think? Absolutely. It's a huge basket. And one's always going to take the wind out of the other team's sail. Forever Purple and Gold asks, Silva would not be able to guard Steph if Warriors set screens for Curry off the ball. No, I don't think that's the issue. I think the problem was, if you saw our breakdown today, they're going more off ball because if they screen for Curry with the ball, they're going to double and he's going to get the ball up, right? So they're going more off ball, and I think that plays right in the Dellavedova's strengths. He's a strong kid. He's relentless. He's fighting through these screens and making it really hard. So I think what the Warriors need to do is something like 25, where they set a ball screen for Steph, but before that happens, they screen the ball screener's man, so he's not in a position to double team as easily, and it'll give Steph chances to split or to attack before that happens. And that I can bet you will see more of that. That's right out of the Spurs playbook. I bet you'll see more of that in Game 4. Are the Warriors in trouble? They are in trouble. They are now down 2-1, and the next game is on the road. It's a big trouble. Constantine asks, Barnes and Draymond have been terrible in the finals. You could remove them from the starting lineup. You don't want to make wholesale changes like that, like 40% of your starting lineup you don't want to change. However, I wouldn't be surprised if they swap out Barnes. Now, it could be devastating to Barnes' psyche, and they might start him and then yank him quick if it's not working well. And that certainly is something that Steve Kerr is wary of, is not getting guys too down. Now let's do this or I got to jump back. All righty, let's see here. Andrew asks, how instrumental was David Lee's play in the Warriors comeback? Do you foresee? Yes. Yes and yes. He was instrumental. He was giving them what Draymond Green wasn't giving them, and he was doing nicely. But you can't go to him too much because of defensive issues. So you got to know when to get in there and you know when to get him out just before it becomes an issue. The John Hill asks, what do you think of the W setting early screens for Steph to get him moving downhill? Yeah, the high horns. Absolutely, that would work because they can't double him as much if they take out his man, right? And if he can get to the wide. And so you're right. It's a really great idea. So aside from screening the ball screener first, they should run high horns a lot. How do you think Bogut's slow trail behind the play hurt Golden State Warriors? I think we're talking about that play where, remember, when LeBron knocks the ball loose, whether or not it was a foul, the Warriors could have mitigated that had either Draymond Green or David Lee sprinted. Oh, you're talking about Bogut's slow trail. Shoot, I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but let me get back to that point. Both David Lee and Draymond Green started walking down the court, which for Draymond is completely out of character. You can show you just how off he is, that he didn't sprint down, and that loose ball was loose for a while. And by the time they got there in time to foul instead of trying to pick up that loose ball and then save the possession. Those are the things that lose you games and ultimately lose you series. Meanwhile, you're watching Mike Miller and Dellavedova and LeBron even getting on the floor for balls. Let's see here. Oliver asks, do you think LeBron should foul Steph when he slipped into him? Yes. Yeah, that's a soccer tackle. It's a good comparison, and, yeah, it should have been a foul. But, again, had the other two guys, the big guys, sprinted up the court, they could have at least kept the ball. Why doesn't this Kerr emphasize pump faking, jump stopping, and drawing fouls in the paint this series? It's a good question, but, these guys are good. The Cleveland defenders are good. They play the position well, and they're not going as easily for those fakes. It's just, they're wearing them down, and the pace is wearing them down. The Warriors have to run up plays through Draymond. I think he's getting enough plays. I think he wasn't finishing really well, and now they're going to go away from him naturally because of that. Coach, any thoughts on the mistakes Zelly was making by double-teaming after getting caught on screen? No. That's by design. If he's guarding Steph and they're taking him out, he is going to sprint over and double and get the ball out of Steph's hand and let somebody else beat them. That's without questioning. That's what he's supposed to do, and I think it's obviously working. Braydon asks, do you think the Cavs should use Horn's 91 fist too to get more of a shot with their shooters? Geez, I don't know what the Horn's 91 fist 2 is. So if it's high horns like I call it, then sure, they should definitely do it. And by the way, everyone has random stuff. Fist to me is a high ball screen out top, which I guess, yeah, 91. Let's see, what would 91 mean? Usually it's not just a player's number or it's a positional thing, but I know what 91 is. Yes, 91 is 5 and the 4 together go up high for a fist ball screen. So that's what you want to call it? Cool. I call it high horns, but yeah. So the 9 is the 5 and the 4 together. 5 plus 4 is 9. 1 is for the point guard, Steph Curry, and fist is the high ball screen. Beautiful, love it. Muyan asks, why Harrison Barnes so bad in this game? He's young. We don't know. Bingalicious asks, what do you think the Warriors should do to come back from this? They got to get back in their rhythm. They got to get back and practice a little bit, and they might actually maybe benefit from practicing against no defense, just to remind themselves of what it's like to run their offense smoothly. I swear to God, it's weird, and you think, oh no, you get more defensive, run their offense against 10 players instead of 5. But I think that it might help them to kind of get out of their heads just to run the offense without defense. Coach Chris Beck asks, how would you rate today's officiating? I didn't mind it so much, but I know that there's a lot of issues that a lot of the fans have on both sides. They certainly got weird down the stretch too. The no call on LeBron, I know I'm forgetting some things too that if we went through, we're going to be like, Ronnie, what's going on here? So we'll have our hands full with the court call. Hopefully we can get it done by tomorrow. It's not about Steph Curry. It's about involving Draymond and David Lee. I think certainly that is an aspect, and we saw by getting David Lee involved, it really helped them. But I think Draymond's just got to get back to emotional equilibrium. Remember what gets him there. He plays at a high emotional level, but he's got to get it under control and positive. Awise asks, as a whole, what do you think of the officiating? Yeah, the officiating is fine. I feel like there's a lot of calls, but it didn't really necessarily affect the outcome as much as other people might think it has. I feel like it's, it happens, and it's not as good as it needs to be without question. But I feel like, the Cavs should have won tonight. They should have won game 2. And I feel like, the Warriors did enough to win game 1 independent of what the referees were calling. I am happy. We kind of talked about it already. It's not clear. Something was off, maybe his sleep cycle. He's a deer in the headlights because it's the first finals. It's hard to know. The Warriors' motion offense isn't working because the Cavaliers are slowing the game down. They're not getting transition opportunities like they used to. And there's less possessions. And they're just mixing it up, and they're physical. By the way, the Warriors are physical too. So it's a nonstop physical game. It makes it hard for you to run your nice, beautiful motion offense. In fact, perhaps the Warriors should go down low and pound it inside a little bit, find some good post-up opportunities. Do I agree with the call after the inadvertent whistle? I'm assuming you mean when they gave it back to the Cavaliers. Yeah, it should have been the Cavs' ball. Delly released it before he went out of bounds. If anything, it was Clay was out of bounds when he touched it. So he doesn't need to have possession. If he's touching the ball when he's out of bounds, it's out on him. Coach asks again, Mike Miller has a lot of influence as a vet, it seems. Do you see him coaching after his career? I don't know. I maybe. That James Jones I had a nice conversation with in the finals last year, and that guy needs to be a coach the second he retires. I would imagine, if Mike Miller probably is in that same vein, and he might want to just do that. I don't know. Coach asks, Cleveland is finding its stride. There was a moment in that third quarter when they're only up 8 or 10, and it felt like a blowout already, and they went up by 20. Where you're like, gosh, this series is about to be over. They're going to just put their feet on them. Now, had they blown them out, I might have been really quick to say I think this series is over. But at least we saw some fight in the Warriors. Milan asks, if LeBron keeps putting up 40 a game, do you see Cleveland winning the series? It has to be an efficient 40, or as efficient as they can be. But it's certainly going to be really difficult, I think, for Cleveland, for the Warriors to win if they can't get them below 40. That said, if they get them below 40, it might mean because they're doubling, and then J.R. Smith and James Jones are hitting threes, and that's obviously a problem too. But I would rather see that, at least try that a little bit and mix it up and find out what happens. Delhi is a new insanity, I guess. Let's see. Mir Diddy's it says, Coach, should Golden State Warriors start double teaming LeBron? He's averaging 40. Like I've been saying, yes, they should mix it up. They don't have to double team him every time. And in fact, they should keep him guessing, but they need to do it. JJ, thank you very much for being part of the show. Let's get these next 5, and then we'll wrap it up here. Why do you think Curry isn't attacking the rim more? Curry never isn't his thing. He doesn't attack the rim that often. And he did a lot, though, in this game to try and mix it up because that's what he needed to take advantage of something. But it's not really, his thing. He does do it nicely, but it's not, he's a jump shooter mostly. How long can the Cavs rely on isolation with LeBron? As long as they need to, which has been, up 2-1, they're doing just fine with it. How Walker would it be to see Love and Irving with rings without playing the finals? I'm sure they're going to feel a little bit of awkwardness, but then again, they need to be able to cling to the fact that they were major parts of major roles on this team going, up until this point, and they deserve a ring as much as anybody else. Ty Frankel asks, do you think that Steph takes the fourth quarter of Game 3 into Game 4? I don't know. Because he shot so poorly before, you got to wonder, but I think he'll be better. I think he will. So, all right, guys, I think we're going to wrap this up here. Great post-game show. We had tons of people here. Don't forget, if you haven't voted yet for my team in the tournament, we're going to be filming everything. I got a nice group of pros and former D1 players. We're really going to compete hard in that tournament. There are some terrific teams, though, so we'll see. But, our focus right now is getting out of the first round and getting to Chicago for the second round, my hometown, so I can visit my folks. But get over there, give us a vote. The links are in our last stuff, and it's at thetournament.com. You can find our team B-ball breakdown. Give us a vote. We're like number one in the West, but I want to get to be number one in the country, and that will give us a bye in the first round, I believe. So stay tuned for that. We got another really cool thing that we practiced a little bit today on a run through, and next week we're going to record it, and it has to do with NBA 2K. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be really cool if you like to play that game. And other than that, all I can tell you is thanks for being part of the conversation. And don't forget, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You win,